مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم.
والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وبارك وسلم. قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن الكريم بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن فرعون علا في الأرض وجعل أهلها شيعاء يستضعف طائفة منهم يذبح أبناءهم ويستحيي نساءهم إنه كان من المفسدين. صدق الله العظيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم وصل عليه. Most honorable and respected viewers, s-salām alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Last time we covered the narration of the wife of Fir'aun, and just so everyone was able to depict a picture of Fir'aun, what kind of a man he was, what the character of Fir'aun was, how he was with others, how he treated others. And obviously now that we know the true haqiqat, the true reality of Fir'aun, we move on to the next phase. What took place with Fir'aun and Musa ﷺ? Salam? Where did it all begin? So to start off with, of course, the very first thing I want to mention is that the story of Musa ﷺ and the story of what took place in the life of Musa ﷺ isn't as simple as though Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He created and He made within the Qur'an a chapter, Surah Musa. It's not that simple. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not made the Qur'an like this. The Qur'an, it's not a history book. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created 114 chapters in the Qur'an al-Kareem. And of course, as we know, each of these has a different objective. Each of these surahs have a different goal in mind. Each of these surahs has a different lesson to be learned. And wherever in the life of Musa alayhi salam something occurred, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has spread the Qur'an al-Kareem with what took place in the life of Musa alayhi salam according to the actual objective of the surah. So for example, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was talking about khair and shar in a surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would mention specifically the part when Musa alayhi salam was conversing with Fir'aun in regards to the belief of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So khair versus shar and like that. And of course, for that reason, actually going through ayat by ayat, the tafsir of what took place with Musa alayhi salam would be very difficult. So I've decided to narrate to you the story whereby wherever I feel there is a good point to mention in that specific ayat, then inshallah I will mention. So we begin with Surah Qasas in verse 3, whereby Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions إِنَّ فِرْعَوْنَ عَلَا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَجَعَلَ أَهْلَهَا شِيَاءً وَيَسْتَضْعِفُ طَائِفَةً مِّنْهُمْ. So indeed Fir'aun, he exalted himself in the land. And of course we know this from the previous narration whereby Fir'aun, he took for himself the station of lordship. He thought of himself to be God. He wanted everyone to accept that he was God. And this was, of course, as we know from the previous verse, that he knows that a Lord is the supreme authority. And this is all Fir'aun wanted, the desire to be a God. So for this reason, he took for himself, he made himself exalted in the land. وَجَعَلَ أَهْلَهَا شِيَاءً. So from amongst the people, he made divisions, he made groups. And the reason for this is because Fir'aun, he was fearful that the people, they would come together, they would maybe come to an agreement whereby they would try to overthrow him. And this was the last thing Fir'aun wanted, anyone to challenge his authority. So he split them into the higher class and the lower class, whereby those who were the higher class would be very close to Fir'aun, and from amongst those who were the lower class, he would make life very difficult for them. And it's made clear where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the next word, يَسْتَضْعِفُ طَائِفَةً مِّنْهُمْ. And from amongst these people, from amongst these groups, there was a specific group who he weakened. He continued to weaken. And in the tafsir it mentions يعني Bani Israel, and these were the Bani Israel, the children of Israel. كانوا في ذلك الوقت خيار أهل زمانهم. These people in that specific time, they were from amongst the best of the people. And what did he used to do to weaken them? He used to have them to do heavy load work. He used to have them do the heavy cavalry work. All of those things to fatigue them, simply to tire them. And this was so they never had any quwwah, any power for themselves to uprise against Fir'aun. This is all he wanted. He didn't want anyone to uprise. So he weakened a tribe from within them, which was the Bani Israel. يُذَبِّهُ أَبْنَاءَهُم. So he killed their children. He would kill their sons in particular. He killed their sons. وَيَسْتَحْيِي نِسَاءَهُم. And he would allow their women to live. And in regards to this, why Fir'aun was doing this, why he was killing the children, the sons in particular, and why he was allowing the women to live. And this has been mentioned in the tafsir. The first opinion was that the wife of Ibrahim ﷺ, Sarah ﷺ, she was walking in the land of Egypt, and one of the kings at that time, as she was passing through, he tried to misbehave with her. And at that time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave her glad tidings, telling her that, don't worry, a child will come from your progeny and he will overthrow the people of Egypt. He will overthrow this kingdom. Allahu Akbar. And then this khabar became mashhoor amongst the land. And what happened? It reached Fir'aun, and due to this he became fearful that someone from the Bani Israel would come and try to overthrow the kingdom. So for this reason, he began to kill their children. He began to kill their sons in particular, and he kept their women alive. And the second opinion as to what happened was that Pharaoh, he had a dream. Fir'aun, he had a dream, and in this dream he saw that a fire was coming from the direction of Jerusalem. And as it entered Egypt, it began to kill all of the Coptic Egyptians. And however, this fire would not touch the Bani Israel. And after waking up from this dream, he gathered all of the priests, he gathered all of the intelligent people, and he called them and he said, look, all the dream interpreters, and he's called them and he said, look, this is the dream I've had. And they said to Fir'aun that the meaning of this dream is that there is a person, a man coming from the Bani Israel, from the progeny of Bani Israel, from the lineage, from the nasl of Bani Israel, and he will come and he will overthrow this kingdom. And due to this reason, Fir'aun became very fearful, so he started to kill their children. And at that time, Pharaoh, he became very, very fearful, so much so that he started taking drastic measures, drastic steps, whereby he would have all the women at that time who were pregnant. He would have midwives and people and men from the army constantly check on those women. He would have them constantly check, and if any child, any son was born, he would have them killed. Allahu Akbar. He would have them killed. And it just so happened that at this point, this became a huge issue for the Bani Israel, because this took place for a number of years, so much so that the old men from Bani Israel, they were dying. And of course, the young boys who were being born, they were also dying because he was killing them. So this meant that the Bani Israel, they filed a complaint. They said to Fir'aun, look, you're setting us with heavy labor work. You want us to do these things. You want us to lift so and such thing. But we've not got any manpower. You're killing all of our children. We can't have the women do this. So Fir'aun, obviously realizing that if he doesn't change his ways, if he doesn't change something, what would happen was that the higher class people would also be forced to work with these people. And maybe because of that, a cohesion may come amongst them. And that was the last thing he wanted. So Fir'aun, he made a new rule whereby for 1 year, he would kill all of the sons that were born in the Bani Israel, and for the next year, he would allow them to live. So it's narrated that Musa ﷺ, he was born in the year in which the children were being killed. And Harun ﷺ, the brother of Musa ﷺ, he was born in the year where the children were not being killed. So we move to the 8th verse, whereby Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he mentions, وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَىٰ أُمِّ مُوسَى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he inspired the mother of Musa alayhi salam, and this was at the time in which Musa alayhi salam was born, in the time, in the year in which the children were being killed. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he inspires the mother of Musa alayhi salam. فَإِذَا خِفْتِ عَلَيْهِ فَأَلْقِيهِ. That if she feared that the army or the midwives were getting close, and the people who were going to do qatl of this baby were getting close, then cast him into the river, throw him into the river, put him into a cradle and place him into the river. So at this point, of course, the mother of Musa alayhi salam becomes more worried and more worried and more worried. Eventually, it comes to the point where she has to let Musa alayhi salam go. And you know, you want to picture this scene. Imagine a mother she has a child, and you know, she at that moment she knows that if this child is found, even if in the river he's floating and he is found, unfortunately he will be killed. So living with this, the mother of Musa alayhi salam, not knowing what was going to happen, only left with the message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, look, just let him go and I will bring him back to you. Have yaqeen, just have some faith and I will bring him back to you. So the mother of Musa alayhi salam lets him go. And it's at this point that we realize that in regards to Fir'aun, he tried to do everything to prevent this. He tried to stop he tried to stop everything. As in, he tried to do qatl of the children. He tried, you know, to weaken the qawm. He put so many rules in place. And no matter what happened, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he brought Musa alayhi salam to the very door of Fir'aun, to the very bab of Fir'aun. And what we realize is that no matter what you do, you can never escape the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As in, what is meant for you will take place, and what is not meant for you will never hit you. Similarly, how if a person, if he opens up many businesses, you know, he opens up a business and he's put all of his life savings into this. If the business isn't meant for you, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not allow this business to flourish. Similarly, we might find some people today, even today, who's before this COVID-19 case, before this coronavirus case came, they had invested into a new business. And suddenly the coronavirus comes and the business is closed. They're thinking, you know, probably calculating the amount of earnings they were going to make in the next few months. Unfortunately, the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it clear that unfortunately you're not going to be earning anything. So what was meant for you will be given to you, and what was not meant to you will never hit you. Similarly, a person also, he could have a very measly corner shop, and this is not a dig at any corner shop. I'm talking a very measly one. You know, he's simply got a few toilet rolls, maybe he's got a few crisps and chocolate, and he's just selling that. If it was meant for him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would allow his business to flourish. Similarly here, the Fir'aun, he tried to do everything. He tried to do everything to prevent this meeting with Musa alayhi salam. But what was meant was that on the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was that Musa alayhi salam, how it was very ironic that he ended up at the very house of Fir'aun. Allahu Akbar. He ended up at the very house of Fir'aun. And of course, at this point we know that the wife of Fir'aun and the maids of Fir'aun, they see Musa alayhi salam, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, very precise in timing, caused Musa alayhi salam to pass, whereby they were stood watching the river. So they picked Musa alayhi salam up, and of course from this point I narrated in the last video what took place with the wife of Musa, the wife of Fir'aun and Fir'aun, just to show you the character of Fir'aun. And this part is that they were looking for someone to suckle Musa alayhi salam. They were looking for someone to suckle him. Who is going to feed Musa alayhi salam? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed that the only person who was going to suckle Musa alayhi salam was the mother of Musa alayhi salam. And it's at this point that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that in the next few verses, وَأَصْبَحَ فُعَادُ أُمِّ مُوسَى فَارِغًا. So before that, the Asya alayhi salam and all of the midwives at that time, they tried to gather somebody to feed Musa alayhi salam. It was a top priority. Who can feed Musa alayhi salam? But Musa alayhi salam, he was not accepting anyone's milk. He was not accepting this. He was not accepting being suckled by anyone. This was because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, decreed that it would be his mother. So at this point, they're looking. Who can we, get to suckle Musa alayhi salam? He's not feeding. And at this point, that verse in which I recited, وَأَصْبَحَ فُعَادُ أُمِّ مُوسَى فَارِغًا, the heart of the mother of Musa alayhi salam became empty. It became empty, so much so that she was ready to disclose any information about Musa alayhi salam. So much so that she was at the ends meet. Where's my son? I've not seen my son. I don't know where he is. Imagine this pain. You've let go of your son. It's been a number of days. You look today, today's day and age. someone will go missing from the household. You'll see it plenty of time on Facebook. Someone will go missing, and you'll see that a post of, my son's been missing for 16 hours, my son's been missing for 24 hours, and people panic. It's a real big panic. But this is a numerous amount of days. The mother of Musa alayhi salam, no one knows. At this point, the mother of Musa doesn't know where the son is. So it's with this same picture in your mind. She's about to disclose. She's about to go to the people and say, look, I had a son. He's Musa, and I'm looking for him. I can't find him. He's lost. And at this very point, it's mentioned in the Qur'an al-Kareem that the sister of Musa alayhi salam, she has been watching from a distance where Musa alayhi salam is, what Musa alayhi salam is doing. Are they keeping Musa alayhi salam intact? What the problem is that they can't find anyone to suckle Musa alayhi salam. And the Asiya radiallahu ta'ala anha and those maids who are taking care of Musa alayhi salam decide to go to the marketplace to look for a suitable person to suckle Musa alayhi salam. And it's at this point they meet the sister of Musa alayhi salam meets them and says to them, look, I have someone for you that may potentially be able to help you. So she brings the Musa alayhi salam and the maids to the mother of Musa alayhi salam. Of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised the mother of Musa alayhi salam that don't worry, I will bring him back to you. I will bring him back to you. And it's at this point that the mother of Musa alayhi salam begins to suckle Musa alayhi salam, and Asiya alayhi salam, she asks the mother of Musa that, do you want to come and live in the palace so you may suckle Musa alayhi salam? And she replies in the negative, no. And she asks why is that? And she responds that it's because I have a husband and I have children I must take care of. So Asiya alayhi salam, she offers her to come and stay in the palace for her to suckle Musa alayhi salam alongside her husband and her children. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He brings forward the story of Musa alayhi salam when he had reached an age whereby he was very knowledgeable and he had a lot of wisdom. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Qur'an al-Kareem, وَدَخَلَ الْمَدِينَةِ. So Musa alayhi salam, he enters the city, عَلَى حِينِ غَفْلَةٍ, at the time in which the people were unaware. And Ibn Abbas, he comments on this by saying, وَذَلِكَ بَيْنَ الْمَغْرِبِ وَالْإِشَاءِ. So this time which Musa alayhi salam, he entered the city was between Maghrib and Isha time. فَوَجَدَ فِيهَا رَجُلَيْنِ يَقْتَتِلَانِ. And he found within the city at that time two men who were fighting each other. أي يتضاربان ويتنازعان. They were hitting each other, they were arguing with each other, they were fighting with each other. هذا من شيعته. And one of them, he was from the Israel, the Bani Israel. He was from the tribe of Musa alayhi salam. وهذا من عدوه. And one of them, he was a Coptic. And he was from the Egyptian Coptic. And it's mentioned here that this man, he calls towards Musa alayhi salam, Musa, come help me, I need your help. This man, he's fighting me. So Musa alayhi salam, he comes towards this man, to help him. فَوَكَزَهُ مُوسَى فَقَضَى عَلَيْهِ. So Musa alayhi salam, he strikes him with his fist and he kills him. Allahu Akbar, he kills this individual by accident. And we know that Musa alayhi salam, here upon killing him, it's mentioned in the narration that they bury this individual, and Musa alayhi salam, he begins to seek the forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he even calls this himself, he said that this is from the acts of the shaitan after he had done this. So of course, the very first question which might come to your mind is that, Musa alayhi salam, he killed someone? Yes, this is mentioned in the Qur'an al-Kareem. However, I took a look in the book by Imam Fakhruddin Razi, Ismatul Anbiya, and he mentions that in regards to this killing which took place, that the reason, and of course we know that the Anbiya are Ma'soom. So he said the reason for this not being a sin, he said that perhaps it's the case that this kafir, this individual, who he was mustahiq for qatl, he was an individual who was deserving of being killed. And he said that even if he wasn't deserving of qatl, even if he wasn't, then he says that إِنَّهُ هَذَا هُوَ خَطَأ, then it was a mistake. And even if it was a mistake, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions in the very next verse, and Musa alayhi salam, he sought forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whereby Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, غَفَرَ لَهُ. After seeking forgiveness, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he forgave him. So at this point, Musa alayhi salam, he goes home, and he's very fearful, he's very anxious at this point, that what's taken place, I've accidentally killed someone. And Musa alayhi salam, the very next day, early in the morning after Fajr, he comes out of his house, he's walking in the street very vigilantly, very carefully. He doesn't want anyone to know about what's taken place. And he sees the same man from Bani Israel, sees the same man, and he's fighting with someone else. So he says to this individual at this point that, are you from amongst those who causes corruption? Are you from amongst those who's spreading, who's fighting with people? And Musa alayhi salam, he comes forward again, to help the individual. And he mentions here that فَاعْتَقَدْ إِسْرَائِيلِي لِخَبَرِهِ وَضُعْفِهِ وَزِلَّتِهِ أَنَّ مُوسَى إِنَّمَا يُرِيدْ قَصْدُهُ لِمَا سَمِعَهُ يَقُولُ ذَلِكَ. So at this point, the Israeli, the individual, the man who Musa alayhi salam was going to help, he believed at this point, when Musa alayhi salam was coming towards him, that Musa alayhi salam was going to strike him. But it was in fact the opposite. And due to his cowardice and his weakness, the Israeli, he said, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, he says, Ya Musa aturid an taqtulini kama qatalta nafsan bil ams. Do you intend to kill me the way you killed that individual yesterday? And of course the Coptic, he heard this, dumbfounded at this point, and he runs. And he says, وَذَلِكَ لِأَنَّهُ لَمْ يَعْلَمْ بِهِ إِلَّا هُوَ وَمُوسَى. And this was because this incident which took place the day before, when Musa alayhi salam initially struck that individual, this was a knowledge which was only known to Musa alayhi salam and the individual who witnessed it. فَلَمَّا سَمِعَ ذَلِكَ الْقُبْطِ. So the moment that this individual, this Coptic, he heard this, ثُمَّ ذَهَبَ بِهَا إِلَى بَابِ فِرْعَوْنَ وَأَلْقَاهَا إِنْدَهُ. So he ran to the door of Fir'aun, to the castle, and he informed Fir'aun about this. فَعَلِمَ فِرْعَوْنَ بِذَلِكَ. And he informed Fir'aun. And Fir'aun, he became very angry, and at this point he wanted to kill Musa alayhi salam. He wanted to end Musa alayhi salam. And so then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he then mentions in the Qur'an al-Kareem, وَجَاءَ رَجُلٌ مِّنْ أَقْصَى الْمَدِينَةِ يَسْعَى قَالَ يَا مُوسَى. So a man, he comes from the farthest part of the city to Musa alayhi salam, and he tells Musa alayhi salam that you need to leave from here. The Fir'aun and his ministers, they've gathered together and they've decided to kill you. And how to picture this is that he's come from the shortest route, so through the alleyways, through the back street, he's come quickly to Musa alayhi salam, and he's told Musa alayhi salam that, look, you need to get out from here. And at this point, what you want to try to picture is that Musa alayhi salam now, he's getting ready to leave, and what you need to understand is that Musa alayhi salam, he has not left Egypt in his life. In his entire life, he has not left Egypt. Similarly, this is like someone who's just recently passed driving, and he's taken his test in Blackburn, and then you tell him that, go from here and go to Manchester. You don't give him a GPS, you don't give him nothing, and you tell him to go. It's not possible. He won't be able to get there, he'll get lost. So Musa alayhi salam, now he's on his way, he doesn't know where he's going, and he's left Egypt. And it says here, فَخَرَجَ مِنْهَا خَائِفًا يَتَرَقَّبُ قَالَ رَبِّي نَجِّنِي مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. So he left from here, and he was in fear, and he was very vigilant, and he says, Musa alayhi salam, he says, Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, save me from the wrongdoing people. And it's at this point, Ibn Kathir, he comments on this by saying, خَرَجَ مِن مِصْرٍ وَحْدَهُ. So he left Misr by himself. He left Misr by himself. He further comments on this by saying, أي من فرعون وملئه, from Fir'aun. So he leaves from Fir'aun, and he leaves from the ministers of Fir'aun, those people who were looking to kill him. فذكروا أن الله سبحانه وتعالى بعث إليه ملكا على فرس. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, he's not going to leave his messengers just like that, is he? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioned here that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to Musa alayhi salam an angel who was upon a horse, فَأَرْشَدَهُ إِلَى طَرِيقٍ. And then that angel who was upon that horse guided Musa alayhi salam to his next destination, which was Madian. And of course we know these were things which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did to look after his messengers. And then Ibn Kathir, he says, Wallahu a'lam, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best in this regard. Of course, Musa alayhi salam, he didn't know where he was going. He hadn't left Egypt. So for this reason, Ibn Kathir, he comments by saying that it was an angel who guided Musa alayhi salam. And this next part, inshallah, we'll leave until next time. What takes place after Musa alayhi salam, he leaves Egypt and he ends up in Madian. I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he forgives me if I have said anything wrong, and I pray everyone has benefit. Inshallah, we'll pick up from here next time. وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم.